must begin by, in a sense, apologising to you and others. I probably gave a few people some apoplexies by my non-arrival by 9 o'clock this morning. A few little local difficulties back at the ranch, it might be said. But it did allow me the opportunity to listen to John Cridland, and gives me the opportunity in some ways to respond to some of what he said. And I'm grateful to John for acknowledging that this city, and indeed this region, is an area of creativity and innovation. And it's that creativity and innovation of the past which sets up this city and the region for what I am going to presume is going to be a very successful future. But John also was very clear about the issues that were going to affect this city, or the future of the city. And he made reference to 2 or 3 points, and I'll just go back over them. That reference to potentially the lack of grade A office space in this city, and he's absolutely right. There is going to be a shortage if we're not careful. And given that the professional services sector over the last 20 years has been one of the fastest growing areas of the economy of this city, a shortage of grade A office space is going to throttle down that growth. He talked about housing, and the planning figures at the moment. We're looking at a population which is going to rise from what is now nearly 1.1 million to of the order of 1.25 million in 20 years. 150,000 growth in population in the city, and with a demand therefore for something in excess of, it is said, 80,000 new homes in 20 years. When have we ever built at that rate since after the Second World War? And housing therefore is going to be a brake. Provision of housing is going to be a brake on the growth of the city if we're not careful. But he also acknowledged, and I was very grateful to him for acknowledging that there was an economic potential that arose out of what he called infrastructure solutions. And he did mention the economic zones that we're seeking to move forward with. He did mention HS2. He failed to mention one, and that was the extension of the runway, which of course is part of that infrastructure solution, which is, I hope, going to help regenerate and further regenerate and move forward the economy of the city and the region. But there was one issue that John got stuck on a little, and Bill, I'm grateful to you for raising the issue. That's on planning, because if we do not solve this issue, we will throttle back on economic growth. That's quite clear. I was speaking to Gérard Collomb, the mayor of Lyon, just some months ago, just trying to reconfirm what he told me previously. It was about the latest extension of the underground system in Lyon. How many years do you think it took them from the point of the decision to the first ridership on that extended metro system? 4 years. 4 years. How many years has it taken us to talk about and not yet implement the extension to that little piddly tramway which runs from Wolverhampton to Snell Hill? We've been talking about it for over 10 years and it's still not in place. If we cannot do something to put that economic infrastructure in place, that infrastructure will, its failure to be there will throttle back on the growth of the economy. But there we are. Those are my responses to what John had to say. But I'm proud to be here as the leader of the City Council. I'm proud to be indeed the leader of the City Council. Not the second city, as many would actually have it to be. That second city label, by the way, is more of a national concern. It's not the concern of those that you speak to abroad. I spent a day or so in Frankfurt at the beginning of the week, and they don't see Birmingham as a second city. They they see Birmingham as a truly competitive city in global terms. And it's unfortunate, therefore, that here in this country, there is a certain notion about Birmingham which is not one which we would acknowledge, and is certainly not one that is thought of beyond the UK. We have as a city, and we have as a region, the ingredients, and indeed the track record, which has made this city and this region great. Some might ask, what has Birmingham, what has the region done for the world? Well, you all know what Birmingham and the region has done for the world. John made reference to it. It started with the Industrial Revolution, of course, and it carried through with things like the arts and craft movement. We created lifestyle brands. We can acknowledge many of them. Aston Martin, yes. Jaguar Land Rover, yes. Morgan, Westfield. These are the world-class brands that we can all acknowledge, and all from this city and this region. And it's some of those brands which are now in a state of resurgence. The success of Jaguar Land Rover, the success internationally of Jaguar Land Rover, is giving this city and this region even greater recognition. And it's those other brands, the Aston Martin brands of Birmingham and the region, which are beginning to refocus a great deal of attention onto this city. It's more locally, with the, for example, the Jewellery Quarter. Brands such as WB, the Creative Jewellery Group, the Assay Office, the announcement just a few days ago that the Assay Master is moving on, but did you notice that he's actually I can't remember, I think he's the only 8th Assay Master in the whole period that we've had the Assay Office open. But the Assay Office, the Jewellery Quarter, has given this city and this region a recognition which we are all rather proud of. And it goes on. The list is almost endless, isn't it? AGA Rangemaster, Vax Vacuums, Emma Shipley Textiles, Pashley Cycles, Brooks Saddle, England Saddles, Acme Whistle, yes, Acme Whistles. Yeah, I'm surprised he's not sitting there blowing one in recognition. But,
don't encourage me.
And we do have these brands, and we can all acknowledge those brands, and they are acknowledged beyond this city, beyond the region, and they're acknowledged, of course, internationally. But what is that about? It's really about the fact that we've been able to take ideas, we've been able to take raw materials, and we've been able to use our creativity and make them into things that we can sell across the world. We are the nation's answer to the likes of Milan. We are the centre for design and creativity, producing products that others can acknowledge as coming from this city and this region. And we intend to go on doing exactly that, as I think everybody in this room would actually confirm. What we have here today with Birmingham Made Me is a design expo which is showcasing the best of the products that we have produced and are producing, and takes us a long, long way from the very poor image that some here in the UK have for this region and for this city. We need to drive our reputation forward, and John was also correct when he said that what is needed there is vision and leadership. I remember years ago in talking to Pascal Maragall, the then mayor of Barcelona, about what was the difference between Barcelona, which was emerging as a truly great city, and London, which at that time did not have the leadership that it has at the moment, which was a state of 32 warring boroughs. And Pascal Maragall's answer to the question from this London journalist was just those two words, vision and leadership. And I think we've got it in this region. I think we've got the vision and we've got the leadership which can drive forward this city and this region. And we have the businesses, we have the academic partners, we have the have the means of actually making this gel and of encouraging that talent and that energy which is here within the city and within the region. We have, of course, and we need to acknowledge it, one of the youngest populations of any city across Europe. And we need to harness that talent and that energy amongst our young population. They are the inspiration for the future. They are our design leaders for the future. They will take the city and the Midlands and reach out to the world with those new ideas and those innovations. We are actually beginning to link up again with Europe and the world, and in a week or so's time I'll be publishing an international and European strategy for Birmingham, not for the City Council, but for Birmingham. And it is about linking up the various players. It's about linking up the public sector with the private sector, with businesses, with academia, and actually then taking a message out collectively across Europe and the world. That's exactly why I was in Frankfurt on Monday. In the afternoon of Monday, I was sitting with someone from Birmingham University, with the people from the Goethe University in Frankfurt. And that was about how we might link up some of the interests of the Goethe University in Frankfurt with the interests of Birmingham University. How we might link up some of the interests of the city of Frankfurt with the interests of the city of Birmingham. Was very pleased to acknowledge that actually they want perhaps to join with us in driving forward a life sciences agenda, because they have actually a very strong life sciences agenda based upon the pharmaceutical companies that are in and around Frankfurt. And that linkage is being made not just by the City Council, it's being made by people I can see around me. The link with Chicago, with Birmingham made me working with the School of Art Institute of Chicago and the Department of Architecture. In Milan, or Milano, with the Politecnico di Milano, with Lyon, with the École Nationale Supérieure de Beaux-Arts in Lyon. These are connections which others here in this room are making and will help drive forward the interests of the city and of the region. And indeed, we will be showcasing here with here in Millennium Point with Birmingham mainly some of the ongoing dialogue that is currently underway with cities right across the world, Berlin, Hong Kong, China, and beyond. And it is about linking this city and this region with cities and regions around the world who actually are trying to drive their economies forward on the basis of creativity and innovation. And that is why we can link with some of those cities and some of those regions, because we have those same interests. It's not just about the past, it is about the future, it is about innovation, it is about creativity, and that those cities and those regions elsewhere across the world can acknowledge for themselves and can acknowledge that as one of the great characteristics of this city and of this region. That is what I believe Birmingham mainly is all about. It's about energizing ourselves, energizing the people of this city, the region, the institutions, the businesses of this city and the region, driving ourselves forward in an inspirational way to even greater heights, to even greater ambitions, to even greater achievements. I think you all would acknowledge that, but it's something else. It's about telling people out there that that's what it's all about. And I hope that this opening session for Birmingham Made Me is a means of actually saying to you and for you to acknowledge that now we all have to start eulogizing about the past, the creativity and innovation, but more importantly about the future of this city and of this region being based upon creativity and innovation, something we have in abundance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Albert. I think the term energising is exactly what